Hey, fight fans, this is Shiraz on Duality 7X. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, today I'm going to actually talk about some of the fights that happened on the main card at the Canelo Crawford fight that happened at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you guys, I'm only going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about the entire main card. I'm just going to talk about certain matches because the fight, my recap, my review on the Canelo versus Crawford fight, that's in another video. So I'm going to talk about the first fight. I'm going to talk about Mohammed Alakel, a young Saudi fighter who took on Travis Crawford. Now, from the opening bell, Alakel's jab was absolutely laser beam sharp. This guy is an exciting young fighter, and he looked absolutely laser beam focused in the ring. In addition to his unbelievable jab that I just kind of alluded to, he was able to control the distance between him and Crawford. He landed the more crisp body shots, which I really liked. So right off the bat, he's exemplifying a lot of tactic, a lot of different strategy. He's not just going for the head. You know, he was trying different things, which I really liked. He was actually forcing Crawford on a back foot. And and if you watch the Canelo versus Crawford fight, you notice that Crawford was able to actually do that to Canelo a couple times too. And when that happens, it's really hard to you kind of get jammed up to the point where you can't go left, you can't go right, you got to fight forward. And if those fights are coming at you like a barrage, then you're in trouble. The best thing you can do, honestly, is your defense at that point. And it looked like Alakel was just kind of breaking him down, breaking Crawford down. So, and it was great to watch that. And so by rounds 2 and 3, you could see that Crawford was trying to come back, sneak in a couple combos, trying to close that gap. But Alakel was just very calm in his demeanor and his approach. He remained very, very focused on what he needed to do, almost as if he had a game plan. And he was very composed. He was cool as a cucumber. And in the middle rounds, his uppercuts and his slick footwork, guys, was just too much for Crawford to handle. And he was toying with Crawford a lot by round 7, and he knew he had it. And when Crawford fired his best shots, in the 9th round, the 21-year-old Saudi phenom was just too much for him, and he was able to stay in control. So bottom line, Alakel was able to show a lot of maturity beyond his years. He outclassed Crawford, and he walked away with a beautiful, clear victory that left nobody ambiguous about the decision. I think we've got an amazing fighter in Mohammed Alakel, and I look forward to seeing what else he's going to be able to bring to the table. And very, very good fight. I was super, super impressed. And the fact that he's only 21 years old, he's definitely proving that he's a rising star to watch. He has these really fast laser jabs, and then followed up by some very beautiful punishing combos. And when you put all that together with some really good footwork, and then being able to control the ring and control the match to your liking, that's high boxing IQ, guys. And that's also an added testament to Muhammad's training staff and his team that's behind him, because he's definitely working with some pros for sure. And then I'm going to talk about the next fight. I'm going to talk about Christian Mbilli, who took on Lester Martinez. And Lester Martinez is a Guatemalan fighter. He was actually training with Terence Crawford's camp. So that in itself is absolutely incredible. He must have learned a lot. And he wanted to be the first Guatemalan fighter to walk away with this, with the championship. And it was very, very close, guys. Look. Round after round, these two titans were just trading blows with one another, and there were brutal shots. It almost felt like it was personal. Body hooks, clean strikes, headshots, heavy shots, uppercuts, followed by combos. You saw jabs, but there was most of the fighting was like inside. These guys, they tried not to keep an arm's length from one another. They were just fighting on the inside. Now, I don't know if that was pure strategy or what. To me, it seemed like Mbilli was trying to control that narrative and he wanted to fight more on the inside. And when I think about it, a lot of people make reference to Christian Mbilli as the French Mike Tyson. Here's a guy who came from war-torn Cameroon. I think he wanted to go to France or something along the line. Something didn't happen. He ended up immigrating to Canada, or coming to Canada, sorry, and then fighting out of Montreal, where, I mean, guys, coming from a hot, hot country like Cameroon and coming to the opposite in weather, that must have been super, super tough for him. But he was representing Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And one of the things that really impressed me the most is he did look like a kind of a Mike Tyson. He was bobbing and weaving in there. But the only thing with Mbilli is it looked like his strategy from the beginning to the end was just to try to work the inside and land some clean shots, and hopefully one of his hooks, uppercuts, would have got the better of Martinez to the point where he knocked him down. There wasn't a lot of dancing or anything like that. It was just pure action, pure brutality from start to finish. The bell rings, and then all of a sudden, the fighters are lined up, and guess what? They called it a draw. And honestly, a lot of people are talking about how this fight could potentially be up there as fight of the year contender. I definitely want to see these two fight again. I'd like to see a rematch. I think both of these fighters have some incredible talents. I think Martinez came in with a different game plan, and I don't think he really had the opportunity to exercise his game plan because Mbilli just didn't give him any time to think. He just went in there and just went to work. When you watch fighters fight and they back up a little bit and then they're just kind of circling around you and just kind of dancing around you, that gives you time to kind of re-strategize, focus, and try to figure out your next move, right? In this case, there was none of that. The way Mbilli was going after Martinez and the way they were just fighting in such close proximity within one another. There was no time to really do anything. There was no game plan. It was just weathering the storm for both Mbilli and Martinez, and to hope that their punches would get the better of their opponents. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is fight of the year? And do you want to see them run it back? I certainly do. And then After that was a co-main event, and I'm talking about Callum Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. Fernando Vargas Jr., son of the former world champion Fernando Vargas Sr. So one of the things for Fernando Vargas Jr., one of the lucky things is that he gets an opportunity to train with his dad, who's a former world champion and legend in the world of boxing. So clearly, he's going to have a few tricks up his sleeve. But then you got Callum Walsh, who's been seriously promoted and talked about by the likes of Dana White. And I talked about this earlier in my Canelo Crawford intro. Dana White's the kind of guy who's been around fights for so long, combat sports, mixed martial arts, UFC, MMA. He can spot talent. All right? And a lot of people are like, what's a UFC guy doing at a boxing event? No. Actually, Dana White knows boxing. He knows fighting. All right, and when he sees a fighter and what they're able to do, he pretty much imprints them. And in this case, he had a lot of great things to say about Callum Walsh. Callum Walsh, young fighter, he comes off super explosive. He's got a chin, and what a powerhouse. I mean, like all the hype and everything, this guy is the real deal, all right? He stepped into that ring with some serious confidence. Just knowing that you're taking on a former legend's son, that's a little intimidating. For Callum, it didn't even seem like he was phased, right? Right from the bell, his hooks were just snapping. He was jabbing. His body work, on point, all right? And the other kicker to all of this and to Callum's success, I think, comes down to his trainer, Freddie Roach, the legendary Freddie Roach. And so when I was talking about, on one hand, you have Fernando Vargas Jr., who's being trained by his dad, who's a former world champion. Well, guess what? Callum was being trained by one of the greatest trainers of all time, Freddie Roach. And so obviously both of these guys had tricks up their sleeves. Not just Fernando, Callum did as well too. And you could totally tell with the training, Callum looked like he belonged. He looked like he's a mature fighter, meaning he's fought many fights before, and that's to the testament of the training that he got from Freddie Roach. I'm telling you, that can make and break a fighter. It's the difference, especially when it comes to championship matches. And the fact that this fight is the co-main event, there's a reason for that. And so we're gonna, I mean, in the early rounds, I think Walsh owned the ring. Yeah, Vargas came back. He fired back a few times. He and then every time he had an answer for Callum came back with his answer, and he came back with precision counters, right? And so, and then he had this beautiful left hand, guys, in round 3 that caught my attention. Not just mine, but I think everybody. And that pressure that Walsh was exemplifying was just too much for Vargas, I think, and he was relentless. And by rounds 4 and 5, Walsh looked like he looked razor sharp. He was landing the harder shots. He was pushing Vargas back, with stiff jabs, and now I get it. I see why Dana White calls him the next big thing, and he made a statement, honestly, under the big lights. At the Allegiant Stadium, in front of all the upper echelon of the world of sports entertainment and combat sports, and all the fans around the world, sports reporters and writers. If you want to make a statement, no better place to do it but there. And he did just that. And if Walsh keeps this up, guys, we might be watching another future star in the making. So let me know what you guys think. Is Callum Walsh the real deal? Or does he still have more to prove? And what do you think about Fernando Vargas Jr.? Does he just need to go back and fine-tune a few things and come back again? Want to hear your guys' thoughts. But that is my breakdown on the 3 fights on the main card leading up to the main event. And again, Canelo, Crawford, a fight for the ages, guys. If you want to hear my thoughts and comments, watch the other video that I just put out. And thank you for sticking around, guys. And I look forward to catching you guys on the next one. If it's your first time here, welcome. Please smash the like and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.